Hi, Zach Reiser here, and welcome back to another Bass Effects review video. It's always a blissful day when you get a Chase Bliss pedal in the mail, and today I have two of them. So we're going to get into the Brothers Overdrive Dirt Fuzz Distortion pedal, along with the new preset controller from Chase Bliss, the Faves. I will show the Faves off later in the video. I'm going to start pretty hands-on with the Brothers, though. So let's jump right into it. All right, before I get into any sounds, a quick description of what the Brothers is for those who don't know. Two completely separate drive engines. So we have a JFET-based drive and IC-based drive on the right. Both of these engines have three different modes: boost, drive, and fuzz, giving you 6 completely separate analog drive engines that are all digitally controlled and preset controllable. The JFET I find to be a little bit raspier, a little bit harsher, and the IC based is a little smoother, a little creamier. Also, the tone stacks are very different, and it's worth pointing this out. So the tone control for the JFET is really a full frequency EQ control. On the left, you get a pretty big high cut happening, and on the right, you get a pretty big low cut happening, which is something to keep in mind for bass players. On the right-hand side, the tone control is really more of a mid-range or mid-frequency sweep happening there. Okay, let's jump right into it. So here is my bass's dry tone, Dingwall ABZ 6-string on the neck pickup. Okay, let's start with the boosts. This pedal has way too much for me to show everything it can possibly do, and I'm going to try to go through and show you at least all 6 drive engines before I get to some of my favorite presets. All right, let's start with everything at noon on the JFET boost. I'm not going to spend too much time on the boosts because really they're basically just pretty flat tonal colorations, but they can be really cool for some subtle effects. So let's roll the EQ down a little bit. Here's some of that high cut for more of a kind of a vintagey tube tone going here. Let's go to the right, and you'll hear a kind of that low cut thing happening here, cutting some of my low end out. Let's do a higher gain setting here just to hear some of that fizziness coming in. This is still the JFET side. So you can hear that little bit of fizziness on the top of my note. Really comes out if I hit it with a harder transient, like with a pick. Just as a reminder, here's my dry bass. And then here's that IC boost at noon. I really like the IC boost. It's just kind of fattens up your sound, gives you a little bit of compression, a little bit of saturation. Check out that tone control here. So this gives you kind of more of a low mids focused. On the right side, you get a little bit more of those high mids kind of being hit. Yet again, the color saturation on the IC bass side for bass, I think, is just incredibly lovely. Let's crank the gain a little bit, show off some of that fizziness on the IC side. Back to my neck pickup. Maybe we'll play a little bit with a pick here on this fizziness. also really like this for some slap settings as well. So let's go to both pickups here. This is dry bass. And then with this bit of boost happening here, low gain, just a little bit of saturation. All right, let's go on to the drive engine. So those are the two boosts. I'm not going to touch the tone controls too much unless I feel like it's necessary. I'm going to leave them basically at noon because for bass, I feel like unless you're going for a particular effect, noon gives you a good mixture of keeping your high and your low end intact. Yet again, I use them if I want an EQ change, but I don't really need to touch the tone controls too much. So let's start with the JFET drive at around 9 o'clock. There we go. Now it's engaged. A little more gain. Fizzy. I like this especially with a pick. It just gives you a lot of aggression. Let's crank the drive on that. IC-based drive, gain around 9. Already you can tell it's a little bit smoother, a little creamier. There's not as much gain noticeable up front. I really like this for just a touch sensitive, kind of little bit of tone coloration here. Let's crank the gain up. The IC side is really touch sensitive, so if I pull back here a little bit, I can get away with playing these pretty dense chords. If I dig in though. Sounds, this amount of gain I think is a great, just simple soloing overdrive vibe. This thing has to offer. Nice and chunky. Let's hear that with a pick. Let's put on my Boss OC2 Octaver. So without the Chase Bliss, this is what I'm getting. And then with that. Let's try a similar setting here on the JFET side with that Boss OC2 on. Let's try a similar vibe here, but I'm going to turn my dry signal off, so just the fat sub-octaver sound. And then here's into that J-Fet drive. Let's try same thing on the IC bass side. Oh man, synth for days. Let's put a little chorus on top of that from the Mobius. Time to move on to the fuzz settings. So this is the J-Fet fuzz sound here, gain right around noon. Okay, let's crank the gain up to about 9. I'm gonna roll the tone back just a little bit too. With a pick. And because it's a fuzz, let's dime the gain here. Let's try same thing here, fuzz on the IC side. With a pick. Fuzz at 9. Sorry, gain at 3 o'clock. Gain maxed. Let's hear this maxed out IC fuzz setting with the Boss OC2 sub running into that. Let's put a kind of a chunky phaser on. Taking the phaser off, let's switch back to that IC fuzz setting with the OC2. All right, so hopefully you've gotten a good idea of what the drive engines sound like with bass, all 6 of them. But now it's time to get into a certain section of the pedal that really makes this incredibly versatile and unique, especially for bass players. It's this mix section right here. So the Chase Bliss Brothers gives you the option of not only using one or the other, but of course you can use them at the same time. And you can stack them into each other, either A into B or B into A, like as if it was 2 separate drive pedals. But extra cool, you can run them in parallel with a blend between the 2 channels. This allows you, for instance, if you want a really raspy, high-end fuzz setting from the J-Fet side, you can keep your low end intact by using maybe a boost or a drive from this. So your low end is coming from here, the high end fizziness is coming from here. I have saved 6 different presets with the Faves switch. So the Chase Bliss Brothers allows you to have 2 onboard presets, and then the live setting of the pedal, and that's with this little mini toggle. The Faves switch ups this to 6 presets, plus your live mode. Now with MIDI, you can have up to, I think, 128 presets with any Chase Bliss pedal. But this is incredibly useful for someone that doesn't have a MIDI controller or for someone that doesn't need that many presets and they wanted a little bit more quick access via this button. So I've already saved these, and there's a great Chase Bliss video showing you how the Faves actually function. So I'm just going to kind of go through and show the utility of having 6 presets. So the first preset I'm going to show you here is kind of what I would use if I was going to have my standard soloing overdrive tone. So I'm using the drive channel from the IC-based side, medium gain, and I'm using basically a 0 gain boost just for a little bit of tonal coloration from the JFET, and I get this vibe. With my bass on would help. Just a tiny bit of breakup. That nice bit of compression from the overdrive. Here's with the TC Electronics Hall of Fame. As I always like to do, I have 2 Chase Bliss pedals with me right here. I have the tonal recall on my board, their analog delay. So let's try this soloing overdrive running into that tonal recall. Preset 2 on bank 1 is a good example of when the blend and parallel mode is pretty useful for keeping your low end intact. So on the left side here I have just a basic boost. And on the right side I have a pretty high-end fizzy fuzz. You can hear a lot of my low end goes away. But if I put this back on, I have them blended together, and I keep my low end intact from the left channel, but I get that high end fizziness from the right channel. So even though the Chase Bliss Brothers doesn't have a blend control on it, it really does if you utilize both sides and you blend them in parallel. So I've just switched to bank 2, and to switch to banks, you just hold down the button and you can see that LED cycle. So this is bank 1, here's bank 2. And my first preset here is just to show you a little bit about the different stacking modes. So if I'm in parallel, so right now I have 2 different drives. They're both low gain kind of drives. Here's the left channel, just a boost. Right channel is a low gain drive. Okay. Now in parallel, doesn't really do very much. It just kind of gives me a simple, subtle mix of the boost and the drive. But the Brothers allows you to stack. So this is the boost into the drive. You'll get more gain because it's giving the drive more gain to begin with. Conversely, this is B into A. So that's that drive kind of crushing up or breaking up the JFET boost side. Really different if I hit it with a harder transient. So this is A into B with a pick. Here's B into A. So you really can treat this like 2 separate, just like you would on a pedal board, 2 separate drives. You can run them one into the other, either direction. And then if you have the Faves switch, you actually can have multiple presets to choose which direction. So you're kind of pedal flopping on the fly. All right, so preset number 4, bank 2, preset number 2. This is the first example of using an expression pedal. So on the back, I have clicked the dip switch for gain A and gain B, and I have a the drive channel on both of these selected, and I have it sweeping from 0 gain to full gain on both. So when my heel is down on the expression pedal, it's very low gain. But if I roll my foot forward, cleans up almost completely, roll my foot forward. Really cool effect if I have a bit of delay from the tonal recall, so kind of subtle, smooth. And whenever I want it, all right, switching over to Bank 3. These are 2 presets I made specifically to use with my Boss OC2 in kind of that synthy mode. It's a drive and a fuzz. So the first one is this is the fuzz, this is the drive. And what I'm doing is I'm sweeping the gain and the tone, which kind of gives me kind of like a filter sweep. So here is the OC2 by itself. And then here's with this preset number 2 with the expression pedal. So hopefully you can hear that it's sweeping in more gain, but it's also tweaking the mid-range frequency on this IC side of things. So it's a subtle kind of tonal sweeping effect. Now, if I go to this preset, it's the exact same thing except the opposite. So this is the drive, this is the fuzz. And as you remember, this tone stack is much more extreme in terms of the frequency range. So now you'll really hear that filtering kind of sweeping sound here and that synth vibe. Get kind of a pseudo tremolo thing happening there too. Let's hear that effect, but let's put on a chorus here again to kind of give us that detuned synth sound. And of course, just because I can, I'm going to put on a very long tape delay. Sorry, not tape delay, analog delay from the tonal recall. So that is my rundown of the Chase Bliss Brothers, and also showing you how useful it is to have 6 presets on the fly without MIDI via the Faves switch. I was really shocked to see how solid of a synth overdrive or fuzz this pedal could be. I expected it to be a little bit more traditional, a little tamer, but you really can get pretty extreme when you dig into the heavier gain and expression controllable sides of things. So hopefully you liked what you saw. Please subscribe below. I'll be back soon with more videos shortly, pedal reviews, performances, etc. Have a great day. Thanks.